Hello friends, and welcome to Strumming Tune-Up, 5 simple steps to optimize your strumming hand. The first step is by far the most important part and will solve most other problems that you have in strumming, and that is to simply relax, which is of course much easier said than done. The thing is that our hands are constantly doing things all hours of the day, and we forget what it feels like to let them relax. So let's take a second, let's take our hands and release them down by our sides and just shake them out and let them relax. And let your arm just feel kind of limp, because a lot of this tension goes up into the shoulders and back as well, and that all impacts our hands. Once we're feeling loose, then we want to bring up the hand and get our general strumming position. And the biggest problem that I see amongst beginners when they're having issues with strumming is that they're specifically carrying tension in the index finger, because it's the finger that we generally strum with. And it's natural to think that we need some power in that finger and we need to lock it out so that we can get this. But that doesn't sound very good, does it? But if we just let our hand be relaxed, we still get the articulate sound, but without that harsh, abrasive sound of a locked finger, which is also going to get caught in the strings and cause you a lot of trouble with the upstrums. So let's take one moment just to strum a C major chord and focus on letting our right hand be relaxed. Just join on in with me and keep that hand relaxed the whole time. Now let's think about the motion that we're making. The next step is ensuring that our strumming motion comes nearly entirely from the wrist. We want to take our elbow out of the equation and allow our wrist to be nice and fluid and relaxed. But when we think about strumming on uke, we generally think about 2 types of strums, down strums and up strums. But that's not exactly true, because our wrist joint is not a windshield wiper that goes down, up, down, up, down, up. No, it's an elliptical joint, and the way that we attack the strings is in an elliptical manner. It is not down, up, down, up. If I turn to the side here, when we do a down strum, we actually turn our fingernail into the string a little bit and then out. See that motion? And what that does is, without us needing to change the position of the index finger, allows our index fingernail to hit the string. And likewise on the up strum, we're not coming directly up, because if we come directly up, we're going to get caught under the strings. So it's going to be a nice fluid elliptical motion. You can think of this as if you're painting a fence. Painting a fence is not this. It's nice and fluid. Keep your wrist relaxed and you will naturally make this motion. Again, everything comes back to relaxing. So let's put down that C major chord again, and let's just focus on keeping the wrist fluid and turning our hand just a little bit so that the nail hits the strings. Let's add in an up strum. Good. Now let's look at where to strum. Where we strum on the instrument matters for both sound as well as playability. As we get closer to the bridge, the strings are a little bit more tense, so we want to be closer to the middle of the string length. And in addition to that, that's going to give us a sweeter sort of sound. Now, the sweet spot on every instrument is going to be just a little bit different. Where it is on mine is not necessarily where it's going to be on yours. But a lot of this is dictated by, again, what's natural to us and what our body is telling us to do. If you watch when I strum very close to where the neck meets the body, and this is generally on most instruments where that sweet spot is going to be somewhere in this vicinity here. As you come through, you can also see that this position where I strum is allowing my wrist to have that nice rotational movement that we were talking about. My forearm is nice and straight. If I angle it and try to strum here, you hear the sound? So you want to keep all of this straight so that the wrist can be fluid, and that's going to determine the location where you strum. And it's generally going to be in this area. It might be a little higher or a little bit lower for you. But make sure that your wrist is not bent like this. Allow your forearm to gauge where you're strumming on the instrument. Now let's look at how hard we're strumming. One of the best lessons I was ever taught as an instrumentalist was to never try and muscle the sound out of an instrument. And that goes tenfold for an instrument this small. The key to getting a clean sound out of the instrument is not attacking the strings harder, but traveling through the strings faster. And let me just demonstrate. So if I travel slowly through the strings, here you hear every individual note. It sounds plunky. Now the only thing I'm going to change is how fast I'm moving my wrist. Very different sound. A lot of times we go too slow, and you can see I'm also purposefully carrying a bit of tension in my index finger because everything comes back to relaxing. So let's join in on a C major chord, and what I want you to focus on here is traveling through the strings as quickly as possible with a very light touch. Nothing else is changing. We still have a relaxed hand. Our wrist is still rotating nice and smoothly, and we're playing on the sweet spot of the instrument, but now we're just traveling through the strings a little bit faster. We want to hear the chord as one entity when we strum. It's a nice effect to do arpeggios sometimes, but when we're strumming, we want to hear the chord, not the notes. Travel quickly through the strings to make this happen. Now let's talk about a little math. There are only two strumming motions on this instrument, down and up, and they can take a long time to master. But you need to give them the time that they deserve before you jump into every other strumming technique, because every other technique is based on just these two simple motions. You can play triplets with two downstrokes and an upstroke. A George Formby split stroke is just a series of down and upstrokes in a very specific order. A chuck is just a different way of attacking the strings while executing a downstroke. Give these simple concepts, these rudiments, the time that they deserve, and it will greatly improve your playing. I hope you all have enjoyed this lesson. I've linked below to my playlist, the Strumming Toolbox, to help you build up a repertoire of different right hand techniques. If you would like to dive further into this subject, I have an extended length video and a worksheet to go along with this lesson over on the Magic Ukulele Club, where we have new lessons and arrangements every single week. I'll see you all over there.